Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or from my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Scott Cagle, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Ben and Noel Bruning, and Patty Wool. B-ticket patrons The Disney Rewind Podcast, and Jeff and Paige Orton. And to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, and the All Aboard Podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has 4 separate images of Disneyland. One of Sleeping Beauty Castle, one of the Mark Twain, one of the Jungle Cruise loading dock, and one of Main Street USA with the omnibus, the horse-drawn streetcar, City Hall, the fire station, and the band playing around the flagpole. On the back it reads, 1. Sleeping Beauty's Castle, 2. Mark Twain, 3. Scene from Jungle River, 4. Scene from Town Square. Disneyland, Walt Disney's fabulous magic kingdom, a place for the young and heart of all ages to find happiness and knowledge. It's postmarked July 18, 1959, with a Los Angeles cancel and a 3-cent purple Liberty postage stamp, Scott number 1035. I assume they visit the park on Friday, July 17th, Disneyland's 4th anniversary, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 84 and a low of 62. Park attendance that day was 31,118. It's addressed to Mrs. Kathy Tobias of Merchantville, New Jersey. It reads, Kathy, this is the life. No beds to make, no dishes to do. Having a wonderful time. Miss Ostertag. Miss Ostertag was at the park the last summer the Cinescope animated film The World Beneath Us was showing in Tomorrowland. On opening day of Disneyland, Richfield Oil sponsored 2 attractions, the Autopia and The World Beneath Us. The animated film half of The World Beneath Us was an educational short about how we extract oil from extinct dinosaurs. The Technicolor film was hosted by a new character, Mr. Professor. Following the 12-minute presentation, guests would enter a diorama of the Los Angeles basin. It was a working model showing guests how oil is extracted from the earth. This included watching a small earthquake shaking the model. The attraction was free and well attended, but by 1960 was removed. This allowed more room for the expanding art corner. Do you know what's great to put on a special greeting card? Vintage stamps from Enfield Post. Be sure to check out the special Sunday sales at EP Sunday Sale on Instagram. It's a great way to add a little bit of flair to a birthday card, holiday card, or a postcard. That's EP Sunday Sale on Instagram, or you can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has 4 aerial views, one of the Matterhorn, one of Sleeping Beauty Castle, one of the Mark Twain, and one of Fantasyland, including the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship and the teacups. On the back it reads, Disneyland, USA, Anaheim, California, a wonderland of happiness for children of all ages. It's postmarked June 20th, 1975, with a U.S. Postal Service cancel and a printed 8-cent metered postage from Oxnard, California. I assume they visit the park on Wednesday, June 18th, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 67 and a low of 57. It's addressed to a Mrs. Mabel Johnson of Spokane, Washington. It reads, June 19. Dear Mabel, we took the girls to Disneyland yesterday, and they really enjoyed themselves. It was 66 degrees here, left Mount Angel Monday a.m., stopped at San Francisco Monday evening, will visit Marineland today, We will spend the weekend in San Francisco. We'll write more when we get back. Love, Carol, Francis, and family. Normally, I would talk about my incoming mail later, but I recently received a vintage Disneyland eraser set. The set included 6 1 1/4 inch by 2 inch erasers. The paper-wrapped erasers all have the same design at the bottom with Disneyland in the classic Gothic script in red, and under that it reads, Walt Disney Productions, Japan. The back of the box is also stamped Japan, the country where these were manufactured. 5 of the erasers are decorated with images suggesting the 5 lands of Disneyland, and the 6th eraser has a depiction of Sleeping Beauty Castle, with blue and red stars in circles starting and ending at the base of the castle. I'm always fascinated by the logos and images used to represent each land. Starting at the top left is Main Street, with a bust of a police officer with a black hat and a blue coat next to an electric streetlight with yellow bulbs, and the street sign that reads Main Street. In the top center is Tomorrowland, with monorail red curving around the TWA Moonliner rocket with red accents. There are also some blue highlights around the monorail track pylons. The next is the Fantasyland eraser, with a mother and daughter riding Dumbo, who is colored gray with a blue hat and ruff. On the bottom left is Adventureland, represented with a world-famous Jungle Cruise. You can see green bushes, dark blue water, a pale blue sky, and a full boat left uncolored in the center. The center bottom is Sleeping Beauty Castle, and finally the bottom right is the sailing ship Columbia, with a brownish hull cruising on dark blue water. I mentioned the color in order because looking at similar sets online, I found some variants. Looking at a set that sold for $150 at the Van Eaton Gallery, the order is the same, there is no color highlighting the Main Street images. And the color on the monorail is flipped. Instead of the monorail being red, the monorail windows are red. Looking at one on Gorillas Don't Blog, the green is missing from the Adventureland eraser. The order is slightly changed, moving Adventureland and Frontierland and Tomorrowland counterclockwise one spot. Also, the names of the lands are curved at the top, and a few are in slightly different typefaces. Finally, the D23 website image has the police officer with a pale orange badge and standing next to pale orange lights, green highlights around the monorail pylons, and a green sky around the Jungle Cruise with no color on the bushes. With no official year printed on these items, it's fun to estimate the year. It has to be after 1959 because of the monorail, and likely before the late 60s because of the lack of New Orleans Square, Haunted Mansion, and Pirates representation. They still have the aroma of rubber erasers, even through the original plastic wrap. It's an amazing vintage piece to add to my collection. Thanks, Caela. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I see many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard is an artistic rendering of the Walt Disney Studio. In the foreground, you can see Mickey Mouse on the Walt Disney Company water tower. On the back it reads, Disney Employee Center, image number 86137. Disney Employee Center exclusive. It's all about the image. Printed by Lantern Press, Seattle, Washington. It's postmarked December 12th, 2022, with an obscured cancel, and the Elf with Rocket Holiday Elf Forever postage stamp, Scott number 5725. It reads, Clocky, sending you this postcard from the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. Hope you enjoy it. See you soon, Scott. Thank you so much for the postcard, Scott. It's amazing to have a Lantern Press postcard from the Walt Disney Company in my collection. I also love that the rocket on the stamp looks like the Moonliner. I watched Scott's adventures for his birthday weekend extravaganza, including tours with dinners at Club 33 and the Tam O'Shanter. I can't wait to find out which tour or dinner was his favorite. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment at whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent from Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent from Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.